that Aurelio Vidmar and his team are through to the grand final.
Well, lads, this is the time of the year. A-League is officially coming to an end with ending this first ever Melbourne Derby grand final. First time ever we're going to be seeing in A-League's history. It is Melbourne City taking on Melbourne Victory in an epic grand final for 24-25 season. This is definitely going to be an intense Melbourne Derby grand final we'll be going to be witnessing. But before we get to the predictions, I want to get a little bit of a preview on what did take place, on how did Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City end up meeting each other in a grand final, and through back to their previews last few matches in the regular season. Well, we'll start off with Melbourne Victory. Progressing through their final series, they had a hard-fought win against Western Sydney Wanderers and the top ladder leaders, Auckland FC. This was a scene that it was said to be a blockbustering game. It's going to be a sold-out crowd at Amy Park. And Victory looking for their redemption after their last defeat against Central Coast Mariners last grand final season. And their last defeat by City is 2022. And Victory, I can tell they are just one win away from their 5th championship in their home deck on the noisy neighbours in the front of the deck. Victory has a bit of a good turnaround on their 1-0 defeat against Auckland FC at their home deck, but they have turned it around their tables in a very tough difficulty for Melbourne Victory on their win away at Go Media Stadium. The goals were followed up by Zinedine Machash and Bruno Fornaroli have Arthur Styles fired up in their tie on that hour mark. I can feel the goosebumps shaking into my whole entire body that this Melbourne Derby is set for another show, and they will meet each other for the 4th time this season. And now let's go to Melbourne City preview on this season. Well, you know, City has a good record against Melbourne Victory. Another Victorian rival is Western United in a 4-1 aggregate across their 2 legs. And the first leg was a really dominance by Melbourne City, 3-0 win that locked themselves in a good advantage. Well, the West United striker Noah Bodzic has scored that consolation equalizer with the second leg, keeping them in the game, but it wasn't not enough because, Melbourne City was too strong at the end. They held their defense really well, and that's when Melbourne City booked their spot to their grand final, and they'll meet Melbourne Victory. It's never a doubt that who's going to win the game. I just want to see a close game. I expect this crowd to be sold out. I expect Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory, North Terrace and Southside filling up the entire bay, filling an entire stadium that will bring the echo across Melbourne. And this is set for another historic Melbourne Derby game. And I really wish I want to go to Melbourne Derby because, Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City, like I said earlier, they have a lot of history on their games. They've been known to each other since way back, and they're going to make another show across the entire Australia viewers. But let's not waste any time. Let's get straight to my prediction. So, this is it. Melbourne Derby Grand Final, hailing in Amy Park once again for the final time in A-League's Men Season 24-25. This is really going down to the wire. Those 2 sides, they have been the better side this season, 2 of them exactly. But I think Melbourne City has done really well. They've had a bit of an ups and downs, but Victory had a bit of a challenge to get themselves back in the grand final stage after their last defeat against Central Coast Mariners. Not only that, Bruno Fornaroli, he's been waiting for that wish to actually win a grand final for Melbourne Victory, and this is his moment. His dream may come true, but it's not yet to be revealed because they need to get through Melbourne City if Bruno Fornaroli wants that wish. But standing in their way, City is another great team to watch. Marco Tilio, Cohen, and a few other Melbourne City players have put up a produced performance over the past few rounds. And City are really hungry, better than ever. They already booked their spot to the Asian Champions League, but can they actually win a grand final? Maybe we see a few goals in the second half because I know sometimes first half is actually really decent. It's all about the feinings, and there's always going to be a slow paced game because a lot of chances will be made across the whole entire minute and a half. And this is something that two Melbourne sides will actually fight for this Melbourne decider. But I would say this might be a fair game in the nick of the time. But I will say this, Melbourne City, they really have a great advantage on scoring goal involvements. But Victory has never say died. Zinedine Mashash, Bruno Fornaroli, two key strikers are looking very, very dangerous this weekend because of that goal against Auckland FC. That put a lot of more messages to Melbourne City that there will be the two playmakers that will actually put a lot more pressure onto Melbourne City. Another great striker, Lawrence Wong, who else? Cohen and Marco Tilio. Bayich, any teams from Melbourne City would bring up their A games. But I'm gonna say Melbourne City might actually win in a narrow game, 1-0 in the second half. Oh my god, I think I can smell it's really a fair game. It's a smell of a taste that you just really know that I can't really see a first half scoring involvements. A lot of more chances being made, a lot of saves that we were witnessing. But you know, the fans behind and every active supporters in general will do the noise and help out their teams to build up a more noise, build up them more pressuring attacks. But I think Melbourne City will edge out with their win and win the grand final 1-0 in a close contest game. So there you go, lads. This is my prediction for the grand final. Melbourne Derby, as for example, Melbourne Derby grand final is, I assumed, and whoever wins, I would be so happy and cherish along this journey. And this is the final time for Aleague, so stay tuned around, guys, and hope you guys enjoy this video. Please show this video a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and as always, stay tuned on my live stream.